Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Deep Cover Podcast. I'm your host, Omar Zaran. Thank you, as always, for joining me for another edition of the show. Not often that I get to have a guest that I've been wanting to have on my podcast for a long time actually be able to join me, mostly because I did not reach out to her until recently. But joining me today, we're going to talk a lot about NBA social media, a lot about the NBA Cup, is Lex Mickens. Lex, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Omar. Happy Monday. It's a good day to have a good day. I'm excited to be here, excited to chat all things, heading into All-Star break coming up pretty soon, and chat about the Emirates Cup, which I think is taking over most of our Decembers. So
Yeah, it's made the early part of the NBA season that much more interesting, right? Which is, a big feat to ask, especially in the middle of college football and NFL season. Trying to get the NBA attention is always a challenge. A little joke we have on our show here, Alex, is that it's not an episode of my podcast unless I somehow sneak in a mention about the New York Knicks.
I mean, I
Um,
was hoping it's more than a mention. So there we go.
yeah, yeah. So you are a fellow Knicks fan, and so which is great for me. I'd love to have a fellow Knicks fan on here, but I want to kind of start with your background into that fandom. How'd you get into basketball in the NBA, and eventually, how did you end up following the Knicks?
Yeah, us Knicks fans have to stick together. And I think it's one of those things where once you're born in New York, it's kind of like stamped on your birth
Hmm.
certificate, like automatic Knicks fan. So I got into basketball at the age about 4, I think, on like a little Tykes basketball hoop. I have an older brother who's about 10 years older, and it was one of those things where it's like you can't just get the ball, you have to earn the ball. And so I probably learned basketball in a rough way back then. But from there, I think my first organized basketball opportunity was CYO. So, for those that don't know some of the youth leagues, it's the Catholic Youth Organization. And so, having a chance to play for my local church team in about 4th grade. And ever since then, I just became attached to it. It just brings me so much joy to watch the game, play the game, help others through the game, and everything in between. And so, I would say, I don't know, I think I've been a Knicks fan forever. It was always on the TV growing up. There really wasn't a huge mention to the New Jersey Nets at the time. So it was a great opportunity to just learn basketball from your own city and have a chance to see pros live. And so I think I didn't go to my first game until probably about like 14 or so. And I always joke around. Actually, it wasn't even a game. It was a Knicks open practice, and it was a school like extracurricular field trip or something like that. And that was the first time and the only time I went to Madison Square Garden before I would start working for them at the age of like 18 in 2014. So I never actually went to a Knicks game prior to working for the organization. So, but yeah, I got started working for the Knicks back in 2014. And for every sports team that called Madison Square Garden home. So at the time, we were home to the New York Liberty as well, and also the New York Rangers. And so I did in-game entertainment. So everything that you see on the court besides the athletes actually playing. So I would basically be walking around with a handheld camera and one of our cameramen producing, directing certain shots that would go on the Jumbotron, all the celebrity row opportunities, things like that as well. So really neat to see and to be a part of. I had a chance to do some of the on-court contests as well. They try to get somebody that's played basketball to be in the realm of like passing the ball to the fan, coaching them through that shot. I mean, I haven't made a half court shot at the Garden, but I've been able to witness a few. So it was fun. I mean, I was there when Jeremy Lin was there, Carmelo, when we drafted Porzingis, and a lot of community engagement moments that, of course, get time now on social media more than ever. But back then, I feel like wasn't showcased enough. And so a lot of holiday shopping sprees, clinics, you name it. So I really treasure my time with the Knicks organization. I was with them for about like 6 years until COVID, and I decided to move out west. So
So I have a couple follow-ups there. First
yeah,
of all, It sounds like based off of your timeline, I think that you probably got into fandom right around the Amari Carmelo arrival.
Yep.
And so I'm a little bit older than you, so I remember my first memory of the Knicks was during the OJ car chase in the finals in the mid
Mm,
90s. And so, and then it kind of grew from there. But I do remember I grew up in Queens, living in Queens because that's kind of like Jets country as opposed to Giants country in the rest of the boroughs. They
it worked
would
for the Jets too, so
yeah, yeah, no, there you go, there you go. So, there was, like, a little bit of a shift that some people in my generation were kind of, like, having a fascination with the Nets because that's when they had Jason Kidd and Vince
yeah,
Carter. But ultimately, we know, the city has always been occupied by the Knicks. In a city with 2 teams in every sport, they have such a dominance over the Nets in terms of mind share. It's just not even close. But I do wanna ask you, what was your kind of initiation moment to being a fan, if you can remember that? For me, again, it was weird being the OJ chase, but, it led to a fascination with Patrick Ewing for me. So what was that Knicks fan moment before you worked for the team like for you?
yeah, honestly, I don't think I really have one. I remember my mom brought a, like, Carmelo, like, one of those, like, face cutouts on a popsicle
Mm,
stick, and I don't know if they were doing because, the Knicks love to do takeovers, right, of, like, 4 Penn
right,
Plaza activations. They don't care if you're not a Knicks fan, a tourist, not a tourist. Everyone's leaving with something, and I think my mom maybe just brought home a giveaway or something because, also being raised in Queens, taking the Long Island Railroad every single day was like our go-to. And so she had to pass the garden going home. And I think it was maybe one of those situations. I mean, we've watched so many games, my brother and I
right,
can't really dictate like one moment that was like, that made me a fan. And
right.
it's just so crazy. I feel like the Knicks DNA and the history of the team really just like is in your bloodstream, you know? And so probably too many memories to count. But yeah, I
Mm.
guess I wouldn't have one that stands out in particular.
The people outside New York City don't really understand just how ingrained this team is, and basketball as a whole is ingrained into the culture of the 5 boroughs, right? And, there's courts everywhere, people
Mhm.
are really invested in a way that I don't think a lot of other places are. Ironically, the a place that would probably come closest to that is the way Indiana is invested in basketball, right?
Mhm.
And which is, of course, a big rival for the Knicks. So, I think there's some common thread there. Let's fast forward to this season. So, a lot of expectations for this team, right? They get to the conference finals last year. I still have nightmares about game one of that
Yeah.
series.
Yeah.
But um, and they're second in the East right now, a game and a half back of Detroit, and they've been on a tear. They won the NBA Cup, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Uh, where are you at with where this team is right now as we stand about 30 some odd games through the season?
I mean, I'm excited. I mean, I think you know too, true New Yorkers, we don't tend to make a lot of predictions about the next season. We just say
Right.
it's our year. And so I'm going to say it's our year. And I'm feeling really confident. I'm excited. I think the front office is doing a tremendous job. The president's really rallying behind the team. And I think there's so much to look forward to. And there's probably going to be a huge push to close out games strong and make sure we're getting to the highest ranking we can prior to All-Star break because our guys aren't really going to get a rest for All-Star break as we saw the list come out today. And so having a good group of guys on the return list for NBA All-Star this year is going to be exciting. And so I don't think I have tons of expectations besides like just maintaining our momentum. And I think too, as a Knicks fan, you'll see momentum shifts all the time. And it's like our highs are really high, but our lows can be so low. And so ensuring that we kind of keep it on the higher end and keep the momentum going into All-Star break is really going to be huge for us. The season's really long, and I think people forget that. And maybe it's like some PTSD of like working multiple NBA seasons, but it's like really, really long. And as we know, of course, the game has 4 quarters, but it's like how many games sometimes a part of one season go into overtime, double overtime. I mean, we've
Yeah.
seen it. So I just hope our guys stay healthy too, get the rest that they need, and yeah, finish out strong heading into All-Star break. I think New Yorkers are really happy for what they've been able to produce so far, and so it can only be up from here. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, you mentioned All-Star, voting and 5 Knicks on there, the starting 5, and one thing I've really appreciated this year as they've shifted from Thibodeau to Mike Brown, from the coaching perspective is that, Brown's giving a lot of these guys chances, and as much as I will forever appreciate the raising of the floor that
Mhm.
Thibodeau did for this team, because we remember what it was like in 2019, right? I mean, you worked for the team then, so you
Yeah.
had a hands-on view of it. It was bad, right? And he kind of helped to elevate that alongside the acquisitions that the front office made. And but with Brown, we've seen Tyler Kolek get an opportunity. Mohamed Diawara, who
Mhm.
is a fascination of mine. I just watch him and I'm just like, this guy's gonna be so good in
Yeah.
3 years, because he's so long and raw, but he's getting chances in a way that I don't think Thibodeau would have given him chances in previous years. Just such a difference in philosophy, and it does feel like Brown's playing the long game, and I think that that's going to be crucial come playoff time. One thing I want to ask you about though is we mentioned alluded to the fact that this team won the Emirates NBA Cup, and there was a lot of commentary, right? And the Knicks didn't help anything with this by deciding not to put the banner of their cup win.
I
They
mean,
didn't
would
want
you
to put the banner.
anything else from a New York team? I mean,
Yeah, I know.
granted, I feel like if the Nets did win, they definitely would hang the banner. But yeah, I think the meme that like took me out was, oh, so the Garden will hang up the banner that Harry Styles had about 15 sold out shows,
Right.
but would hang up the in season tournament or Emirates Cup banner. I mean, yeah, New York has a lot of grit to it. They're excited. I mean, I don't know. I know they're not looking at it as like a participation trophy, but I know they want the real thing, and I can't blame them, you know?
Yeah, I totally get that. I personally wouldn't have minded, or even if they do it in the off season, just like, hey, the banner's up now after the result of the
Yeah.
season's done. Uh, for me, again, I'm almost 40 years old now, and I've never seen this team win anything, right? Okay, so like I've seen them get to the finals, and
Yeah.
I wrote about this for Knicks Fan TV, where they started handing out trophies for the conference champions in the early 2000s. Okay,
Mhm.
so when we got to the finals in '94 and when we got to the finals in '99, there was no Eastern Conference championship
Yeah.
trophy. So yeah, you could have the banner up or whatever, but it wasn't a piece of hardware that we saw the team at center court be presented with, right? And this moment where they beat the Spurs in the single elimination game in Vegas allowed me to see this team with its best players winning a trophy. And when I looked at it, I saw how excited Cat was, how excited OG was. All these guys are excited, and you could really tell that they gave a shit. So it really bothered me about a lot of people saying, "Oh, this fake trophy. Who cares?" Like Celtics fans were pretty heavy on the whole. Oh, why don't you go ahead and win a real trophy? Which is all fun and games between Boston and New York, whatever. But for me, it was like it was obviously it's not a championship. It's not the NBA Finals. It's not the Larry O'Brien Trophy, but it was just nice to see Jalen Brunson win an MVP trophy. It
Mhm.
was nice to see Cat hoisting up this NBA Cup trophy. So for you as a fan, what was your emotion to that happening for our team?
Yeah, I was shooting myself in the foot. I was with the NBA at the NBA Emirates Cup all weekend long, and the original plan was to stay until Tuesday. However, I work in corporate America, and the 9 to 5 that I have is in regards to like learning and development facilitation.
Mhm.
And so I was onboarding another cohort of new hires that week, and I was just like, ah, it wasn't that I didn't believe the Knicks were going to win. It was just that I would not have been able to handle bringing back 2 little kids, getting them back to school the
Right.
next day, going to work fully refreshed. So I did not stay. And I was so upset because, like you said, like when in our lifetime have we had a chance to experience this? And I think for the players that you mentioned too, I feel like I've like grown up with them in some essence, not being too far in age from Jalen Brunson and all of the Villanova guys or our Villanova Knicks. And also playing in college in New York and having girlfriends of mine that played at Villanova, it's just like I feel closer to the team than I feel like I have in years past, even working for the team, because there was a bigger age gap between the players and such. And so it was really, really special. And I'm just so happy for them. And it's nice to see positive energy in the Knicks locker room, and on the floor. And I think it's like a lot of hand holding, right? Like if you see they have positive attitude and energy in the locker room, it translates to what we see on the court. And it's like these guys enjoy playing together. And I know you mentioned Mike Brown as well. And it's like Mike Brown's a player's coach, like he's on the floor with them. He's in the shorts. I mean, we've seen him talking about put the skates on and all that shit. And so it's like, you see that the guys want to play for each other. And it's nice to see that there's so much excitement for the light at the end of the tunnel versus exhaustion as to getting to this halfway point in the season. So really upset I didn't stay, really happy for our Knicks. Was it because I was there for that weekend? Who knows? But I am making that a case for next year and having an opportunity to maybe run it back. So
Use any leverage you can, Lex. That's
yeah.
that's the moral of the story. I do want to talk to you about kind of pivot here from the Knicks into just the Threads app, NBA Threads as a community. And so I'll start before I ask you the question, just kind of my exposure to it. So I was pretty heavy on using Twitter before the Elon Musk takeover. And when it happened and it really started to degrade in quality after it lost so many engineers and everything, I was like, man, I really wish there was an alternative. And then Threads comes out, and I was like, okay, it's Meta, not much better in terms of just like the big tech bubble, right? But here's something new. Let's try it. And the early days, it was a dead platform. I'll just be completely honest, and because I remember I signed up for the thing, and I was like one of the first 1,000 users, whatever, the whole thing, and from there, in the few seasons ago, this NBA Threads community kind of emerges, and it becomes this like everybody's talking about the game, and it's not toxic like it was on Twitter for many years leading up to that. And other alternatives kind of popped up. X obviously was still a thing and around that a lot of journalists use, and Blue Sky came out, Mastodon came out, a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of other different social networks came out, but it feels like that community has remained the strongest with Threads, and you're obviously very present on that platform. So, what made you want to give that a try, and also what has kept you on the platform as time has gone on, and you've obviously grown a relationship with Meta and their activities with the NBA?
Yeah, great question. And I laugh anytime I get asked this question because I think it was maybe 2 years ago. Like it was Threads had been around for about over a year now, and I was asked to sit on a panel with USA Today and a few different like publications and things like that for like talking about sports threads. And I got asked the same question. They were like, actually, you didn't even have an active Twitter account. So what made you want to join Threads? And I laughed because I was like, yeah, I never thought I'd be good at a text-based app, maybe because I just feel as if I'm like always running around or like my thoughts are silly. But it's odd because a few years ago, maybe 2018 or so, I used to post on Facebook actively, and it would be thoughts of the day that I would have, and I would just actively post them. Then I transitioned them over to LinkedIn. And so I guess like I'm keeping that same momentum here on Threads. But to tell you the truth, it launched in July of 2023. I had my first child, Gianna, June 1st of 2023. So I was like so deep into like the newborn trenches. I'm like up almost every other hour. I'm with my daughter. I need to stay awake. I need some form of entertainment, TV, phone, you name it. And so I literally just joined. And as you were saying too, that you were one of the first 1,000 active users or whatever, I remember like, oh, do people like keep their badge on the Instagram profile, or do you take your badge off? And so it was just an opportunity to kind of stay awake and engage in conversation. And I think what really built the connection between me and the NBA community is the trust, I guess. I had an opportunity to really share like my background in working for one of the NBA teams. I now am a talent manager for one of the media groups from another NBA team. I've had a chance to coach for the Players Association for both the NBA and WNBA. And so just having a chance to like share the stories and moments behind the game, I think really gave me an opportunity to connect with the community in a new way, and really just not be afraid as to what's to come from this. I think I was really just open to the opportunities and possibilities of this new app and giving it a try and just saying yes and being active and staying active and understanding no platform's going to be perfect, right? But it was like such a wholesome and still is a wholesome community. And I tell this story all the time. It's like I don't think I've ever met so many strangers that have turned into family and friends from a application like I have in Threads. And I mean, you've seen it, like we've wanted to create yearbooks and post photos of meetups and all the things. And so yeah, really happy to call the NBA Threads community home. And there's so many people that built the community and continue to contribute to the community. And there's so many OGs that were a part of the community that left to other platforms. But I think the thing is like, regardless of them moving to other platforms, the relationships still stay intact. And so still checking in on those individuals or having conversations or, it's so much more than an online platform or an online community that's been created, but it's really like this close-knit of folks that really love the game and really want to contribute to each other's well-being and everything that everyone's doing, all the side quests or passion projects. And it's beautiful to see and be a part of. And I just can't believe it. Like, I'm still in shock, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And one thing I like about the application, it's funny. A friend of mine, I'll be like, "Oh, I saw this posted on Threads or whatever," and he would joke like, "Oh, people still use that app or whatever," and I'm just like, "Look, man, ultimately, like, I have a X account for posting my articles, even though I'm not really active on it. I have a Blue Sky account that I'm pretty active on. From a perspective of conversation and meeting people and getting your stuff out there, Threads is kind of a very invaluable tool for me. And a lot of I think in a weird way, it's very old internet in the sense of you're having all of these community meetups, these connections forming, as opposed to all these other apps that have like these no name profile pictures, people who's just calling you the R word all the time, that
Mhm.
sort of thing. It just brimmed with toxicity. Whereas Threads still has that. Let's be clear, but I feel like the community building aspect of it kind of outweighs that a lot of times. And one example I use every single time is I was looking for an episode to do, and I was like, I really want a woman sports fan to tell me about her experience, right?
Mhm.
Like, what's it like being a fan and facing, a lot of potential harassment and just being talked down to, gaslit, by a community that's predominantly male. And so I posted something on Threads. I was like, "Hey, looking for somebody, blah blah blah." And I was thinking maybe I'll get one if I'm lucky, expecting none. Right. Ultimately, I ended up with like over 100 comments on this post, and I had like 10 women reach out to me. As like, "Hey, I want to do this." So I was like, "Well, how do I navigate this?" And what turned from one episode has turned into 10, and it's true in the sense, like, I feel like I've had multiple conversations with those people away from just getting them on my podcast, and,
Mhm.
I look at them as great friends of mine. I've had them on here multiple times, and, so it is very much a social network in that frame of sense, as opposed to what a lot of social media has become, which is kinda like influencer funneling, right? And
Yeah.
not that there's anything wrong with being an influencer, but that's just kind of it's a different kind of
Yeah.
vibe, it feels like, right?
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah.
But, so, um, let's go into your time at the Emirates Cup.
Yeah.
And so you were there, and I always laugh when I see this, the giant threads mic, and
Yeah.
so uh, so and then you're kind of doing hits and doing talking to a bunch of people who were at the cup and there for the festivities. You also participated as a player in the Creators Cup, and so
Mhm.
what was that weekend like for you, just as a whole, between playing in this game and just kind of doing all the activities during that weekend?
Yeah, it kind of was like a dream come true. I've always had the NBA as a brand that I've wanted to partner with either as an individual or with my nonprofit organization. And so having the chance to do that felt like too good to be true. I remember I got the email and I had taken a week off from work, and I always like joke on myself that I'm not doing enough. And so taking a week off from work, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be relaxing. I need to do X, Y, and Z. And I get this email and I call my husband. I'm so excited. I was like, I got asked to like cover the NBA Emirates Cup. And I was like, wait a second. And I read the fine print and it's like, they want me to play in the Creator Cup. Are they serious? And so I was so excited. I mean, I think it's a great segue too from the story you just shared, because the Creator Cup's known for only having like a handful of females, right? So to be selected amongst like 4 females out of how many creators there are, or influencers that have bigger followings than me, that maybe post basketball content more often. I'm just so appreciative of like individuals that like speak my name into these rooms and give me these opportunities, especially now more than ever, being a mom, but also being a mom of both a son and a daughter, because my daughter gets to see what these environments are like and see her mom be a woman in sports and navigate this realm. So it was like so unbelievable. Everything, like the NBA is just such a great partner and they do such a great job of taking care of their talent. And so they really treat you like an athlete, being able to have like car service and have car seats in the car service for my children, and just like such a white glove service. Was super appreciative of it and just so thankful for my experience. It was really neat. We landed a day early, had the chance to kind of just get the kids situated and everything. And then on Thursday, we had an opportunity to, I think the first get together was the practice, I want to say. It's all just like a blur now. And that's really sad because it was only like 10 days ago. But I think the first opportunity was the practice. Oh, no, I actually had a chance to do a shoot around. I can't share much about it right now, but I had a chance to do a shoot around. We'll revisit this conversation later, but yeah, I had a chance to do a shoot around before we went to practice. So I had a chance to see the actual floor and get some shots up prior to the NBA Creator Cup, which was happening the following day. And then Thursday was really just an opportunity to go to practice, meet some youth from Las Vegas, Nevada as well. So we had a shoot around at Shoot 360. We had media headshots. They took us on like basically a player's like coach bus, and so you really have a chance to feel like an athlete. There's tons of media around you. It's really inspiring too, like seeing people that create content and like have taken their love for basketball and have moved it into social media and making a living out of this, right? A livelihood. And so we had our practice, went back to the hotel. And then Friday was really just the game and having an opportunity to meet everyone ahead of the game. We had a chance to go to like this practice court that they built that you might have seen. And it's like basically in a white tent outside of the arena. And they do this every year, but it looks exactly like the court that you're almost playing on. So that was really nice, branded and everything with all the teams, the final teams. I believe that's where the teams also get a chance to do a shoot around before they actually go onto the main court. But I just couldn't believe it all, and the fact that there were OGs from the NBA Threads community there too. It was so nice and sweet that they spent their time coming. And again, just getting to share the moment with my family, being the first mom to play in a Creator Cup. And people probably think I'm silly to be like, oh, well, why does it matter you're a mom? And it's like, yes, there are tons of dads that play in the Creator Cup and all the things, but it's like when you're a mom and you've given birth multiple times, it's drastically different than being a dad. And so I was really excited and really thankful. And Saturday was great. It was an opportunity to head to the Threads brunch that they hosted. So a lot of active members from the NBA Threads community were there, a lot of league partners, things of that nature. And then I'm trying to think, then Saturday night, it's all just jumbled together. Saturday night, I had an opportunity to host or I guess before that, I had a chance to take my kids to their first NBA game. So pretty neat that it was the Knicks game, Knicks semifinals game, Knicks versus Magic. Yeah. And so having a chance for them to see the Knicks play, and I had them dressed in their New York or nowhere gear. And there were a ton of Knicks fans. I mean, Knicks fans travel well, so I wasn't too surprised. And then later that evening, I had a chance to co-host the first Threads booth, which was so
Mhm.
neat. And I just couldn't believe how innovative the Threads team was in creating that, because it was like such a neat opportunity to have like guests that are in the arena, but obviously our same guests aren't maybe being interviewed by like the NBA or ESPN and things like that. But now we have a chance to actually have our voice amplified by ESPN and NBA and all the other accounts by creating this booth and letting active Thread users come and sit and share their experience around the game. So that was so neat. It was a real booth. A lot of folks were like, well, where can I tune in or how can I watch this? But there wasn't an opportunity to watch. It was all on
Mhm.
Threads, right? But it was neat to capture and like hear the game, but also hear the people that are at the booth with you speaking through your headset, and having a chance to just discuss the action that's happening right in front of you. So I hope they do that for some other like leagues as well. I could see it going really well for MLB Threads or NFL Threads and things like that. So I really enjoyed that. Then Saturday, a lot of us just had a chance to grab dinner as well. And then Sunday, I spent all day at the NBA Tees and Threes golf tournament. It's a charity golf tournament. I think this is their second year doing it, actually. It takes place at the Wynn in Las Vegas, and it was a really great and neat opportunity to connect with like athletes or celebrities that I've actually had a chance to either like hire for either a talent perspective opportunity, maybe worked a camp for them. It was funny because the first player I had to interview was J.R. Smith, and they're like, "Oh, do you know J.R.?" And I was like, "Yeah, J.R. and his brother Chris were the first players I ever worked a basketball camp for
Oh,
before I
wow.
even worked for the Knicks." So I was like, "Oh, this is perfect." So it was really neat, and just like everyone loves the mic, like you said,
Mm.
it's so heavy, hard to carry around. But
I wanted to know about that, like, how heavy is this
yeah,
thing?
I know the stats. I don't have the stats in regards to like its weight and length and everything, but I mean, it's not uncomfortably heavy. It's just like
Mm,
you definitely need both your hands. Like I was cradling it a lot, and I was like, "Oh, this is
right.
like my child." I think they're working on like getting a backpack or something for it because it is hard to carry it around and fly with it. I can imagine too.
Mm.
But yeah, that kind of wrapped up my weekend, and then decided to head back a little early Sunday and not stay for the games on Tuesday. But all in all, I mean, I could not have asked for a better experience. So,
Yeah, it really feels like the Threads, community or just the team behind Threads is really embracing the fact that I mean, I'll be honest, I think the NBA really helped sustain the success and viability of this app while it figured out a lot of this stuff, right? Like
yeah.
they've added features but because a lot of these people were kind of expats coming from Twitter or whatever, this was like the one topic that kind of sustained people while they were building up their communities around like tech and news and politics and all this other stuff. And it seems like they recognize that. I think the NBA specifically has targeted itself and done more stuff with Threads than
Hmm.
the other leagues. Like, I know MLB did, like, a postseason pick'em thing,
Hmm.
NFL's done a couple things here and there, but it does feel like the NBA and basketball as a whole, and with the WNBA as well, is really front and center with, buying into this platform, and that kinda leads me to my next question where for the longest time, the concept of NBA Twitter was so prevalent in basketball discourse, even, right? And people would clip stuff on there, and inside the NBA would highlight posts and stuff. And now we're getting to the point where posts on threads are being highlighted, right? So, do you
Crazy.
think?
So
Right?
crazy.
Yeah. I would never thought it, and it's like I saw who was it? I think, Griffin Prock had a post, on TV, and I was just like, "Man, this is a guy who's been on my podcast. This is crazy." And
Yeah.
I've been on his, so it's just kinda like it's like a full circle moment. But
Yeah.
do you think that, Threads is looking to kinda cultivate their own version of what NBA Twitter was? And if they are, do you think that it's working?
I think they're making their own lane, I would
Mhm.
say, because I guess I'm not also privy to the different sports communities, a part of like Twitter sports back in the day, right? I only really followed the NBA if I am looking at Twitter posts and things like that, but I feel like the cross functionality of all the sports communities on Threads, so many sports fans wind up getting interested in a new sport or deciding to go to a game or deciding to attend a meetup or a watch club party now because of threads and because of seeing these different posts and the welcoming of a community. And so I wouldn't say that they're trying to build something similar. I definitely think they're in a lane of their own. Especially because of how welcoming these sports communities are. Like, I mean, I can tell you every day, I feel like I see at least one or two posts like, hey, friends, I'm a new fan of X, Y, and Z. Tell me what I need to know, where I can buy merch from, who should I follow, you know? And no one is like gatekeeping or not sharing that information or not being kind to that new fan. Instead, they're like welcoming them with open arms. And I think it's so wholesome and something you really just don't find on the internet and other places. So I'm really excited for all the growth and change that has happened in the last 3 years. I cannot even imagine what the next 5 years are going to look like, or even when Threads hits their 5-year anniversary. And so I'm just, yeah, I'm amazed every day by what the team is putting out, the new opportunities they're creating for others. I mean, I've been a part of the Threads community since July of 2023, and I can probably name on both hands and both feet the amount of opportunities they've provided me. And so I'm just incredibly grateful and so appreciative of it all.
Yeah, I think they're on a trajectory now where it's kind of a weird thing, and I hate to kind of own to say how much we boost popular accounts, but one thing I find that Threads has struggled with a bit is getting a lot of the journalists and beat writers and stuff from who were on Twitter for so long and are still on X as of now to migrate over. And we've seen slowly but surely, like ESPN personalities, people from The Ringer, like Zach Lowe is pretty active on Threads now, more active than he is on X at the current moment, I believe. Seen the guys from Barstool like Big Cat and Ryan Russillo, they're active on there as well. And I think, like, I find myself like, I gotta like these guys' posts because I want them to see that this is a growing platform, right? And I also have been exposed to a lot of other commentary type people, other smaller podcasts, and I think they're going to continue to lean into that. I do think that the NBA is a growth model for other Threads communities. The NFL, for how big it is, I find the NFL Threads community is a little bit smaller than it should be, considering the following and passion that people have about the NFL. So I'm hoping into next year that that changes a bit more. But I think the future is bright, like you said. Let's kind of pivot over to the NBA Cup again here. It's 3 years now, and it was a new idea. As somebody who has followed international soccer, I appreciated what Adam
Mm,
Silver was doing, because it reminded me of, you have the Premier League and then you have the Champions League, of course, but then you also had the FA Cup, right?
mhm,
And I wrote a piece about this a while ago where it's like, all right, winning the domestic league is almost kind of like you're kind of is regular season excellence, right? You're the best team in the regular season. Winning the Champions League is probably like winning the finals because you're the best of the best, right?
mhm.
And then winning the NBA Cup should be like the FA Cup, something to celebrate, but not the end all be all, right?
Yeah.
And that's because the three cup strategy is very accepted in Europe. England, Spain, Italy, France, they all do it, right? Every single one of those countries in their leagues has a secondary domestic cup. It's a new concept in America because we've been taught that only one thing matters. If you're not winning the finals, you are a failure. 29 failures, one successful team, right? And so with that, do you think that 3 years in here, we talked about how it's made early season games relevant and worth watching with the courts and something to
Mhm.
play for, the whole thing. Do you think this experiment is working?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, I think viewership has gone up as well with this in-season tournament, and I think like the turnout in Vegas just speaks to it all as well. I do like the fact that the games are hosted in Las Vegas, right? Or a state that doesn't have a team within their market, so that opportunity is really great for fans as well, and then also for youth to be able to see the sport as well. Like having the chance to see the aces, of course, but having the chance to see NBA stars play is really neat. I definitely think it's making an impact and making a difference and making these guys more excited. I mean, I feel like there was such a lapse, right? It's like, okay, season kickoff, and or season tip off, forgive me, and you'd have like these so-called like quote unquote rivalry weeks, but not really, right? They weren't advertised as that. And then you just have All-Star break. And it's like, well, there's no excitement in between all those opportunities, right? And so I think it's allowed for fans to really have a different like talking point when speaking about the different games that are going on. And it allows teams to also like advocate for their athletes in a new way, post different things based on the cups and things like that, and bring a new fan experience like with those courts and activations and all that. So I like it. I'm intrigued as to where it's going to go, especially like in regards to growth, right? Especially like if the NBA does do a European expansion or what that looks like. I'm wondering if Adam Silver is going to make some big announcements at the NBA London games happening next month after like he just went on Good Morning America this month. I think post NBA Emirates Cup actually to talk about his vision for the league and what's next. And so I'm just keeping an open mind. I mean, I think the cup is definitely here to stay. It's just like, how does it grow from here? And so that's what I think I'm most excited to see and hear about. So we'll see. I mean, I think it's changing all of our perspectives and expectations every single year, right? I think at first we're like, are we really calling this the NBA Cup? And then it was like Emirates Cup, and now it's NBA Emirates Cup. And it's like, what is the actual name? What's going on? And so, yeah, I'm excited to see what's next. I like it though. I really enjoy it. How do you feel about it?
I like I love the soccer model,
Yeah.
right? So I personally I want to take it a step further. I think the best regular season team should also get a trophy. So
Mhm.
to complete the soccer analogy, I'll give you an example. Remember that year when the Hawks were the number 1 seed in the East and they were just embarrassed in the first round, I think, by the
Yeah.
76ers? That team won like close to over 60 games that year, right? And people always complain about how the NBA regular season doesn't matter. You know how you make it matter? If you win the most in the regular season, you give a team a fucking trophy. And
So
so
just a trophy, no cash incentives, because I think that's also a difference too. Like, I don't know.
maybe, I mean,
Yeah.
if you do the cash incentive, that would prolong a team trying at the end of the regular season, right? Not
Mhm.
resting up too much for the playoffs. But I again, if you're going to lean into the European soccer model of domestic, cup, continental, right? And again, if you assume those are the three correlations, then you should reward regular season excellence, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you think about the Warriors when they broke the Bulls record. They didn't win the title that year, so it's considered a failed season, right?
Yeah.
But how is winning
So
73 games a
ridiculous.
failure?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just so I think that if you want them, you have to give it time to bake is the thing, right? I think some of the courts are a little, a little wacky. Like any team that does the red court, it's like, oh, can we not? But I like the idea of giving these end of the bench guys a reason to compete, a reason to want to win something. I think about with the Knicks, a guy like Tyler Kolek made like a quarter of his salary in one night, by winning the NBA Cup. That's pretty cool, and you get stories about Cat donating to the Dominican Republic and
Wow.
different Knicks players who were giving money to staff that didn't get an
Mhm.
NBA Cup bonus. That should be changed too, by the way. If you're, it should be an organization.
1,000%. Yeah, exactly. Like, give a
Yeah.
ring to everyone kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Well, I also think too, right? The rules have to change around like having teams tank
Mhm.
around the playoffs and all that. So like in regards to picks and different standings. So I think a lot of things need to change, but I am glad that we have a commissioner who's being open-minded and realizing that what's worked for the league in the last 70 plus years may not work for the league anymore, or the fans need something different. And so I think Adam Silver is getting a lot of like not hate on social media, but like, oh, well, you should do this, or you could do this, or you could do this better. And people don't really understand how hard it is to be a commissioner. Like, you
Yeah.
have to make the players or try to make the players happy, right? But there's also so many other things going on between
Ownership thing too, right?
ownership. Yeah, exactly. Ownership, each of the organizations, like there's just so much that plays into it. And like it's not, I don't know. I think people think it's like, oh, only the players, but it's like the players, their family, all the things that happen, these go big moments, like so much goes into it. So need to protect Adam Silver at all costs is what I'm saying. But yeah,
I
see what
I do
happens.
want to I do wanna take a slightly off track because you mentioned the NBA Europe thing, and this is something I find super interesting because it feels like for a while they were trending towards adding 2 new teams in expansion. But it seems like the pivot might be, actually, no, we're gonna do a European league with, like, 8 to 12 teams, and it feels like certain cities have already, gotten in on this, like, Paris has kind of, shown some interest, I think,
Right.
different cities are interested in it, so I'm kinda curious, like, what's your feeling on the idea of an NBA Europe? Is it a little bit too repetitive because EuroLeague already exists? Like, what's your feeling on it?
I just think there needs to be a clear clarification as to like what does this league look like? How do players like are we just taking club teams that already exist like in
Mhm,
like EuroLeague and bringing them into the NBA? Like I feel like there's different variations of basketball when you look overseas and each country plays the game a bit differently and the fandom's different. All elements are a bit different. So I just want to get a better understanding as to what is that necessarily going to look like. But it's exciting. I mean, I just don't get how both leagues would work, or is it one
mhm,
league at like a part of a season and then the next league is active, or like what's I mean, I, of course, any fan of basketball is going to want basketball and hoops all year round. And I mean, our overseas players overall definitely deserve it. I mean, look at when we do like USA versus World, right? Like,
mhm,
what a great opportunity. And we've received so many tremendous athletes playing in the NBA that come from these different countries. And so yeah, I don't know how it'll work. And I definitely think there's a lot of details that need to be like ironed out, of course, or built out for
mhm,
like, because this would be like the first of its kind, right? Like, I don't think I've seen anything else like this, unless we're talking about like World Cups and things like
mhm.
that, which look a lot different, of course. But if we're talking league specific, it would be interesting.
I mean, the NFL kind of tried it back in the day with NFL Europe, but the thing is,
Well, they
they
still
kind
do their you're like they
yeah,
do a game in Germany, I think, or they still do a game in Europe, but it's
right.
like yeah, the league
Yeah,
wise, like you said.
yeah, they had this league of all these European teams, right? And it operated as more of a developmental situation, like, I think Kurt Warner played there briefly in NFL Europe, and it's like if the NBA already has that though. They have the G League, and they have a developmental
Yeah,
arm. So why have a secondary developmental arm? So it's like if LeBron is at the wants one more contract, he's just gonna go to London. And that was great. I'm curious to see how, like you said, just a lot yet to be decided. But I am interested from the perspective of a basketball fan and having opportunity for more talent to have an opportunity on an NBA level
yeah.
or NBA stage, but it's kind of curious to see how that's going to shake
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I wonder how that would work. And then what is that changing in regards to like the collegiate landscape and like college athletes in Europe versus in America and like that are looking to get to the NBA draft or the NBA combine. Like there's like that's just so much to like handle. So
I'm convinced that the NBA actually doesn't like college basketball, and they would much prefer if high school players would just go overseas or go to NBA Europe or go to the G League as
or
opposed to
overtime, right? Like
overtime.
that long
Anything, anything but going to Duke, is basically the thing. But
I don't know
that's
why
my own
Duke
thing.
gets so much hate. Yeah, I love.
Just yeah, I
I
mean
think
any college, right? I just feel like they
that's
have such a
true.
contentious relationship, whereas like the NFL has a really feeder type relationship with the college football world. In the NBA, it feels like they kind of don't even want to deal with them in a weird way. So maybe that's part of this as well. We'll see.
Huh.
I want to go back to the cup for a second, and I feel like a lot of people are critical, right? A lot of people are like, The game doesn't matter, and this is just a gimmick. Why should I watch?" Even though, like you said, the ratings are up. Is this just something where they have to let it bake more, or does the NBA need to be super active in tweaking it? Like we saw them suggest that they would play the final in a college arena, which I don't know about that, but uh, what do you think? Is this just like something that needs more time that people get more used to it, or is it something that is in need of more fixes moving forward?
Yeah, I think they're doing a good job of adjusting it year to year, between like fan activations. And I mean, even the first year, I think they had, it was like TLC and Nelly. Do a concert in like the pavilion outside the arena. I think, yeah, people just need to give it time and actually tune in. Like, I think a lot of people, like, when you're naive about something, right, you just don't believe it because you don't know about it. And so I feel like a lot of folks just don't maybe realize it's a cup game. I mean, the Lakers played what, two of the last cup games with their regular court. So how would folks necessarily know it's a cup game? I mean, you see the like over the box score and everything and the live score reporting, you see that a signage, but I think people need to give it a shot. And I think there just needs to be more discussion around the cup games overall, which I think is continuously growing these last 3 years. I think the first year everyone was like, "Oh, was this just a trial run? Is this going to be a
Mhm.
thing?" And look at it now. Like I think folks are enjoying it, and I also think the more teams that win, like the more there's a differential in the teams that win every single year, and it's not the same repeat winners, I think adds to it as well, you know? So I think that's a key part to it all. Because if we had the same team winning again for the last 3 years, then it probably wouldn't be as exciting.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's going to be something that becomes more mainstream and accepted. It's at the end of the day, people hate change. Okay,
Yeah,
so when you have 80 years of the or 75, 80 years of the NBA telling you
right.
this is the only thing that you can win, right? And all of a sudden, for the past 3 years, like, well, actually, you could win this thing too.
Yeah.
People are going to reject that until it becomes notable that you won it. I think the fact that the Spurs and Knicks took the final seriously and it was a playoff level game in terms of
Yeah.
intensity
And
is
the
a
atmosphere too, like,
right.
Spurs
So people
fans
are into it.
travel well too, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so that goes a long way to legitimize. I think it's legitimate to the players,
Yeah.
because what people forget sometimes is how insanely hyper competitive professional athletes at this level are. Like you get them in a one-on-one at the park, they're gonna try and demolish you, right? That's just how they're wired. That's why they're the cream of the crop.
Mhm.
And and so to act like you add a little bit of money to it, add the chance to win a trophy, they're probably in.
Yeah,
So
1000%.
whereas yeah, whereas we're like, "Oh, how does not winning a NBA Finals impact your legacy?" In the moment, they don't care about that. They're just trying to
Yeah.
win something, and I think that it's kind of like a weird byproduct of ring culture sometimes, where
I think
it's
that's a
like,
whole other conversation too,
"Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, like,
this is the only thing that matters." It's
just
like, dude, let's
define
let them
legacy.
enjoy something. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
I do want to give you a chance here to talk about Run It Back, which is something that you founded, and just give us a brief glimpse into what drove you to found that and what it's all about.
Yeah. So our nonprofit organization, Run It Back, is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit focused on revolutionizing communities through sports. And we do so in three different pillars. We offer free student development. So if you're a student athlete from the ages of 8 to 18, we offer student athlete mentorship. So we have a 27-week curriculum for that age group. Of course, it varies for each age, but it's an opportunity to focus on your cognitive thinking, time management, personal development, personal branding, developing relationships and a network at a young age. And the cool thing here is that it's actually taught by previous student athletes. So let's say I'm in Atlanta and New York, I have the chance to be paired with a student athlete in either of those communities. And the reason why we do that is because nobody knows the lay of the land as well as somebody that's previously walked that community or had an opportunity to play in those schools, leagues, you name it. So we cover the cost for mentors to go through their background checks. We pair them with families. We've helped student athletes get Division I scholarships, D2 scholarships, find opportunities to play overseas and everything in between. So, student development there. Then, for our adults that are 18 plus, we offer professional development services. It really pains me that there are so many individuals, and I get it, everyone has to make a living, but I just don't believe that if an individual does not have a job and is in need of a resume review, they should be charged $300 to get a resume done. And so we work with corporations to basically provide professional development services to those young adults to get them out of the labor and service industry. So we offer free resume reviews, mock interviews, speed networking, job shadowing. We have cohorts of about 15 to 20 interns for the last 3 summers of college students looking to make a switch or get a better understanding as to what different careers look like. And then for all ages, 8 through, I think the oldest individual we've had play with us was 65, but we offer free basketball, right? So having an opportunity to, similar to a YMCA, I guess, where you can sign up. It's almost like a sneaker release. We have the dates go live, and it's the first 25 people that sign up. We don't care about your demographic. We don't care if you've joined us before. We don't care if this is the first time you're playing basketball in 3 years. Like, we have a space for you. And the cool thing is that unlike a YMCA or Boys and Girls Club, we rotate facilities for every engagement. So if you're playing with us in New York City, the first run on a Tuesday might be in Queens. The second run the following week on a Friday, maybe in Brooklyn. Like, it's always a new experience for our participants, and we treat them like professionals. We hire local photographers and videographers for them to also grow their clientele, and invite them to capture the community and its essence. And so you receive professional photos and videos. You meet about 25 new individuals. It's an opportunity to really continue on your love for the game and meet individuals that can help you get to that next phase of your career or what you want next in your life. And so I started this when I was, let's see, a few years out of college, actually. I've hosted basketball runs since I can remember, probably since coming out of high school in 2014. And it was just like, okay, like, who wants to play pickup? Like, I'll organize a run, a girls only run, a boys only run, a co-ed run, you name it. And I realized, having played in a co-ed sports team, I was the only girl on a boys varsity basketball team in high school for all 4 years, that there weren't a lot of co-ed sports to play unless you're like the only female and 10 or 9 males. And so being able to craft these communities and foster this safe space and let other females know, no, there's going to be other girls that show up and also have a chance to play against these guys. And most importantly, you're going to be safe, has been really neat. So yeah, I mean, it's taken a few different names since we've crafted it as a nonprofit. It's stayed true to its naming convention. But before Run It Back, I had a production company that I would also host open runs with, but it was a pay to play atmosphere. At Run It Back, everything's completely free for our constituents. And so my production company, Ultimate Assist, we used to do that as well. And then before that, just hosting runs all over New York City. So I've been doing this now for probably about 12 years, but our nonprofit will be celebrating 5 years this upcoming March, which is crazy to think about. So we're in 17 states, hoping to grow to all 50, and we've helped over 3,000 constituents so far. And I've had the chance to partner with some really dope brands like Red Bull, Nike, East Bay, Snipes, Jordan Brand, USA Basketball Foundation, Salesforce, so many others too that I just can't think of right now. But it's been really fun and a great way to give back and keep the love of basketball going. And most of all, make it just accessible and equitable.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it feels like, in a sense, just kind of hearing you talk about it, it's kind of like when the venture reflects the founder, right? And it's like it feels like there's a lot of correlation between stuff that's important to you, and what you're trying to provide to other people. So thank you for that. If you are interested in more in learning about Run It Back, you can check out their website, werunnitback.org. That'll be linked in the description. Last question for you, Lexi. You've been so generous with your time today.
Oh,
We're
no, you've
recording.
been so generous with your time. Thanks.
So we're recording this on December 29th. So 2026 is coming up. What can we look forward to seeing from you in the new year? What are some goals that you're kind of setting for yourself and hoping to achieve in 2026?
Yeah, I honestly just want to make a greater impact. So, helping more people, being able to spread the love of basketball anywhere I can, fostering community, being a safe and brave space for others to really rely on, and just showing up for my community more. I think I get so thrown into like so many different tasks, and like I want to help individuals on their journey, but maybe like figuring out how I can further scale my impact. So hopefully a lot of more workshops from Run It Back, hopefully NBA and WNBA activation for those local communities as well. And yeah, I mean, individually, I don't know. I'm hoping to moderate and host some panel discussions or conversations around the love of the game or around parenthood and being in the game as well. I have a really big heart and I love to give and I just want to help others. So anytime any of those three things can take place and provide me the opportunity to do so, I think it'll be a good year. But just so blessed to see another day. I saw a post saying, you're really lucky if you've been able to make it home all 365 days of the year, because there are a lot of individuals that haven't. And I think it's so easy to set all these goals, but the real opportunity of just having your health and having a body, being able to move and do what you want to do every single day is the real blessing. So, yeah.
Well, those are I don't know how to close the episode after that. That's a great message. Uh,
I mean,
all I
hey,
can say is
you did it. Is it? Yeah, I mean, you're closing out two on your last two podcasts of the year, so that's
yeah.
huge. Any goals for you for 2026? Or I've been
Well,
asking everyone, who do you want on your show? Broadcast it to the world, you know?
yeah, for me, it's I had this moment recently where I found myself stretching myself way too thin. And so a big kind of focus for me moving forward is quality over quantity with a lot of stuff that I'm putting out there. And that's kind of really been the thing to provide continue to provide unique perspectives and something I take really seriously. I've mentioned this on previous episodes is there's not I'm Arab American, so there's not a lot of representation of people from my community when it comes to commentary in the sports space. There's a few notable journalists who've worked for like ESPN over the years, but nowhere near the amount it should be. And it's something that I take really seriously, and it's something I want to advocate more to be a oh, well, I feel like the term role model maybe is a little cliche, but as just a guiding light that if you're an Arab American and you think that this space isn't for you, that that there is a path, right? And that's kind of my north star, moving forward, if that makes sense. But
I love
let's
that, and I'm
yeah.
glad that you're doing that, and there's gonna be a lot of students or young adults or just older adults too that are gonna be glad to find your page and the work you're doing and, the voice that you're being for others to see and also be able to be that someday as well, so, yeah.
Lex, this has been a tremendous conversation. As soon as you agreed to be on here, I was like, all right, this is going to be a good one. I just had a feeling about it, and it was true. So, but if
Yeah,
I highly, highly recommend all of you listening to give Lex a follow. She is just an awesome presence online and somebody you should be keeping tabs on. So, you just let them know where they could keep up with all that you're doing on the
yeah.
internet.
Yeah, thanks, Omar. Feel free to follow me on all platforms at Lexis Mickens, LEXISMICKENS. Yeah,
Perfect. And if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to give us a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. We are a video podcast on Spotify and YouTube. So if you want to see two people yapping for an hour on your screen, by all means, catch the video feed. But until next time, I'm your host, Omar Zaran. Thank you, as always, for joining me on the Deep Cover Podcast.
thank you.